Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. I've got no rhythm. Today I'm going to do my Friday reads, hopefully, if I get this uploaded, and it'll appear on Friday at some point. Just take you through everything I read over the last week, starting with the book that I was reading last time, which is Dr. No by Percival Everett, and I did a review of this book already, which I put up early in the week, so you can go and see what I thought about it, and I quite liked it. I liked it more than Percival Everett by Virgil Russell, which is by Percival Everett, but not as much as I like the trees. But it was good, and it was very kind of Influx Press to send me a copy to review. Then I read this. This is Grant Morrison, part of his run on New XMen, which was long after I'd stopped collecting comics. I was reading them online when they were published. Then I'd forgotten about it, but I wanted to go back and visit it, so I've been picking them up where I can. I bought this in Book Off in New York when I was there just over a year ago. So this is I think part 4 in the run, and it's Frank Quitely's art and Grant Morrison writing it, and this is good stuff about the this is all Scott and Emma getting together, Scott Summers and Emma Frost, and then this is all these new X-Men that we never saw, some of whom are not the usual sort of spandex beauties. These are sort of ugly misfits and weirdos who happen to have a mutant X gene, and they're all young students at Charles Xavier's School for the Gifted. So an interesting part of the story, and what I love about this is the evolution of where the X-Men are at, where the mutants are in the world, and this is right slap in the middle of this idea that maybe Magneto was right. Maybe these abused and oppressed minority should stop relating to themselves as victims and fight back. And it's a kind of sort of fascist mentality that's creeping through, and Charles Xavier's dream of living alongside a Homo superior, the mutated X-Men living alongside the rest of us, seems to be falling by the wayside, and there's just a lot of unrest in these young mutants who've grown up knowing they are feared and hated, and how they're going to take that into the world. I just think there's some interesting stuff going on here. I think it takes a mind like Grant Morrison to sort of pick these threads, but I love that sense. There was always that conflict between Xavier and Magneto, and I love the fact that the pendulum is swinging a little bit towards Magneto, and Xavier's looking like a sort of milquetoast, no real answers for anybody, and that's what's going on. Anyway, there's a riot at the school, and quite fun. Then I read a book that was part of one of my projects, which is reading Hercule Poirot in order. I'm up to book 4 in the series, and often when you look at the history of Poirot, people say this is one of the best of the Poirot, and sort of 4, I think there are 60 or 70 of them altogether, so I don't know if I got that right, but 4 books in, this came highly recommended. How I got to this book without knowing the story, without knowing who done it, is amazing to me. That I got this far in my life without reading much Agatha Christie, and now, and now I'm reading it and being just wowed. The book I'm talking about here is The Murder of Roger Aykroyd. As I say, this is the 4th Poirot. We start here with Poirot's companion from the earlier books, and there was a couple of novels and a set of short stories. Hastings has gone off to Argentina, and Poirot has retired from being a private detective. This is the starting point. This book is narrated by a local doctor in a small town who things have happened in this town, and as the doctor, he goes and visits all the different people and all and sundry, and he lives with his sister, who is a dreadful gossip, who thrives on all the goings on in the little town, and a murder takes place, and Roger Aykroyd is murdered, and it so happens that Hercule Poirot has moved in, retired, and is in the next door cottage to our good doctor and his sister Caroline, and somehow gets pulled in and asked to try and solve the murder, because there is a suspect who has gone missing and is looking more and more suspicious the more and more he doesn't make an appearance, and Poirot is asked to investigate, try and clear his name and get to the bottom of it, because that's what Poirot does. He doesn't mind. He's asked to clear the name of this of the original suspect, but he says, I will take the case, but I will reveal the truth whichever direction it leads me. And that is the promise of Poirot. So instead of Hastings, who was our previous Watson, Holmes and Watson, the Watson of that relationship, he's gone, and we have instead this Dr. Shepherd who is taking that role and going everywhere with Poirot, and it's, as I say, he's the first person narrator, so everything Poirot does is filtered through the eyes of the narrator. It's a wonderful device that we've seen before, and we know this is it's all taken from Holmes and Watson, who I was never quite understood. I haven't finished all of Conan Doyle yet, but Watson seems to be a less fleshed out character than what we're getting with Christie's versions of it. I'm not going to say anything more about the plot. Poirot investigates. Poirot solves the case. I did not work it out. Every direction I thought I had, everything I thought was going to, completely went over my head, so that I was thoroughly taken in by the whole thing. It seems amazing. This book's 100 years old, and it was just a joy from start to finish. The denouement, which I did not see coming, made me gasp, and just a brilliant book. Is it cozy? Is it old-fashioned? Is it mumsy, as I kind of sort of had a Christie pigeonhole for a long time? This makes me want to read more of these, and I think for the next 10-15 years I'm going to be picking these up. They're harder to find than you might think. I think there was years where you would walk into any charity shop anywhere and just see a whole row of Christies. Actually, in the bed and breakfast where my wife and I stayed, they had in the waiting room a shelf of Christies, many of them Poirots, I'm sure a few Marples as well. And I was sort of I wanted to just pick them all up and put them in my suitcase, no one noticing. Michelle said you can't do that. Anyway, so I didn't. But you find these online. I buy a lot of books for like £2, £3 online. On eBay, for example, including shipping to the UK. And these are harder to find. This was like £4 or £5, and they're difficult to find. But this was totally worth it. So this is an old this is 1970. I've got a few 1970s paperbacks. This one is from 1993. But a nice, this would have originally sold for £2.50. I think I paid a little bit more than that to buy it from eBay. Agatha Christie, The Murder of Roger Aykroyd, absolutely the best Poirot so far, and has me gagging for more. Brilliant stuff. And then after that, I read a newish novels. This was widely read and praised last year, and I'm only just catching up with it now. I managed to pick up a copy again from eBay cheaply in hardback, even though it's now out in paperback. So when I was in London, this was available everywhere in paperback. I didn't realise when I ordered it that what a short little novel it was. This is My Phantoms by Gwendolyn Riley. Have never read Gwendolyn Riley before, and this is like a 200 pages in there, which is a lovely length for a book, because I literally read both of these in the same afternoon. The Roger Ackroyd is 230 pages, and this was 200 pages, and I sat down Shabbat afternoon, nothing else going on. My wife went out to visit friends, and I read each of these from cover to cover in the same afternoon. So that was a fun time. My Phantoms, terrific. It was widely praised, and justly so. Terrific little novel, very small world, a relationship between a daughter and a mother, the daughter remembering her childhood growing up with a mother and a father who was then subsequently absent, the mother's still around, and unable to really connect. The mother talks in cliches and never really addresses the feelings, never really addresses what she was like as a mother, how she made this daughter feel, what happened with the father. It's all just terribly awkward and disconnected, and therefore utterly convincing. A fine bit of work, a lot of really broken dialogue and broken relationships. And it's possible the daughter is not entirely a reliable narrator of this relationship, but the mother seems absolutely unfit for human communication, unable to address what happened, what went wrong, failings, unable to express any real love, very self-involved, Very, very impressive. And I guess people have been going on about Gwendolyn Riley for years, and I haven't have been paying attention. There are earlier novels which I may look out for if I see them. I mean, there's so much other stuff to read. But I'm really pleased that I persevered and picked this up even after the initial buzz had died down, because it's a terrific book. I think this was unread, this hardback book, when I got it, so I picked this up pretty cheap on eBay in a brand new hardback. Totally worth it. There's always that sense that if you miss that first 6-month window, you may as well give up, because you missed the chance. You've got to get on, got to get the next new thing. And I just am trying to stay grounded and say, look, I buy a lot of books. I don't always manage to read them all in the first 3 months that I have them, or I hear about great books that I really wish I got on and just had too many other things going on. This is something I went back to, picked up, even though I kind of missed the freshness of it. But it's a fantastic read, highly recommended. My Phantoms by Gwendolyn Riley, which leads me up to the current book, which is in a similar vein. This is a book that I didn't buy when it came out. I bought it the middle of last year, still in hardback. It's now available in paperback, so I'm reading a new hardback of a book that's already been out for a year and released in paperback. But I had such a fantastic experience with the second novel by this author. I didn't read his first book. I still haven't gone. Maybe I will one day go back and read it. But it was a book that I resisted. His second novel, which was A Gentleman in Moscow. I'm talking about Immortals, and this is the book, The Lincoln Highway, which I've started. I resisted A Gentleman in Moscow until I finally said I bought it in paperback. I loved it. And my wife reminded me this weekend that she'd read it as well. And we both loved it because it's an irresistible book. And so, again, when the time came and I was looking for things to buy, I picked this up, and it's taken me 6-7 months to get to it, but I'm reading it now. I'm 100 pages in. I'll get through the rest of this week. First 100 pages are a little bit anxiety-inducing. There's a character that is there designed to get under your skin and make you worried about what's going to happen to our main protagonist. But I think if I swallow, I've got another 400 and something pages. If I swallow this up in over the weekend, then I'll just get through it, and hopefully there won't be too many terrible things happening to people that we love, because we know that's a problem for me. But anyway, the writing is still gorgeous. It's just hard to explain how easy it is to read these sentences compared to things that sometimes are a bit of a struggle. There can be shorter books where it just seem that much denser. This is very light. I don't necessarily think it's the most exquisite and elegant prose in the world, but it's very accessible, very readable, and I think I'm going to probably enjoy this. I don't think this is the highest brow or the classiest bit of literature, but I don't think everything has to be. I really enjoyed Gentleman in Moscow. I think I'm going to enjoy this as well. The Lincoln Highway by Immortals. That's what I've started. And that's it on Friday Reads. I hope you're all keeping well. God bless. Goodbye.